Have you ever stopped to think about what happens when you push someone to the limit and find out too late that someone had the power to move mountains? Because that's exactly what humanity did to Erik lehnsherr. And now he's come to collect. Picture this scene. Washington dong código, the political heart of the United States. Thousands of people gathered to witness a historic moment. Cameras from around the world broadcasting live, reporters, diplomats, the president, everyone there on that lawn, feeling safe, protected, until the sky darkens. And an entire stadia starts to fly, the RFK stadia. Tons upon tons of concrete and steel, ripped from the ground like it was made of paper, coming toward them slowly, deliberately, like a sentence being pronounced. You know what's most disturbing about all this? It's not the power itself, it's the calm, the absolute coldness of Magneto as he does this. He's not screaming, he's not losing control, he's executing a plan. Every bolt, every beam, every piece of metal responding to his will like an extension of his own body. And when that stadium lands around the White House, surrounding everyone like a cage, that's when you understand this isn't an attack. It's a demonstration. Magneto didn't come to destroy G, came to show the entire world what happens when you spend decades hunting, torturing, and murdering people simply for being born different. You created this monster. That phrase, it's not just an accusation. It's a mirror. Magneto is throwing in humanity's face all the violence, all the hatred, all the fear they directed at mutants. And now they're going to feel what it's like to be on the other side. Close your eyes for a second. Try to put yourself in his place. Erik lehnsherr wasn't born this way. He was shaped, forged in the fires of the Holocaust when he was just a child, separated from his mother at the gates of Auschwitz, watched her get murdered right in front of him, felt his own power awaken at the most traumatic moment possible. And you think after that, he was going to trust humanity? Shaw turned him into a weapon. Governments hunted him. Society rejected him. Every time he tried to believe things could be different, someone proved they couldn't. So when he lives at Stadia, when he surrounds the White House with all that metal, he's not being irrational. On the contrary, from his point of view, this is the most logical thing in the world. If they want a monster, he'll give them a monster. But here's where things get complicated. Because Magneto isn't completely wrong, and that's what makes this scene so uncomfortable to watch. The Sentinel program, giant robots created specifically to hunt and exterminate mutants. The government funded this, approved this, and when Mystique tried to stop it by assassinating Trask, they used her DNA to make these robots even more deadly. Every action humanity took in self-defense only escalated the situation, only proved Magneto's point, only fed the monster they feared so much. It's a vicious cycle that nobody can break. And the most tragic part, Charles Xavier is there watching his best friend, his greatest rival, the person he loved most and disappointed most, become exactly what he spent his entire life trying to prevent. Because Charles believes in coexistence, believes that humans and mutants can live together. That fear can be overcome with understanding. But Erik saw what fear does. He carried those numbers tattooed on his arm his entire life. He knows that when people are afraid of you, they don't try to understand you, they try to destroy you. So, who's right? The idealist who believes in the best of humanity, or the pragmatist who saw the worst? That's the question X-Men Days of Future Past doesn't answer. Because there's no easy answer. The reality is that both are right and both are wrong, and the truth lives somewhere in the middle of all that chaos. Magneto lifting that stadium is one of the most iconic moments in superhero movie history. But not because of the special effects, not because of the epic scale of it, it's because of what it represents. It's the culmination of decades of trauma, of rage, of accumulated pain exploding in a single act of absolute defiance. It has a man who was treated as less than human his entire life, finally saying, "Enough, now you're going to listen to me." And you know what's scary is? We understand. We don't necessarily agree. We know what he's doing is wrong, but we understand how he got there. We can trace the line between the boy at the gates of Auschwitz and the man floating over Washington with a stadium on his back. That's the mark of a great villain. Not someone you hate, someone you understand, someone whose motivations make sense even when their actions are monstrous. Magneto isn't evil by nature. He was transformed into evil. And the cruel irony is that the same people who transformed him are now shocked by the result. When he looks at the cameras and says that phrase, he's not just talking to the president, he's talking to everyone who ever looked at someone different and felt fear, to everyone who ever supported exclusion policies for everyone's safety, to everyone who pretended not to see why injustice was happening. You created this monster. You. Not me. You. The responsibility isn't just his. It belongs to everyone who contributed to this cycle of violence. To everyone who stayed silent. To everyone who chose fear instead of empathy. This moment forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth about how we treat those who are different. About how fear becomes hatred. How hatred becomes violence. And how violence creates exactly the monsters we feared so much. It's a cycle that repeats in fiction and reality, in different forms, with different groups, throughout all of human history. And maybe that's why this scene resonates so much, because it's not just about mutants, it's not just about Magneto, it's about us. About the choices we make as a society, about the consequences of those choices. So the next time you watch this movie, pay attention to this moment, to the silence before the stadium lands, to the expression on Erik's face, to the way he looks at the camera, and ask yourself, if you had lived through everything he lived through, would you have done it differently?